Hey everybody, this is Tom from Rocket Restorations, and I need a haircut. Once I get the helmet hair, it's just not good. Today what we're covering is the Barrett Jackson auction down in Scottsdale. So we did some wrap-ups last year. We're going to do a Meekum wrap-up tomorrow on Sunday. But today I just wanted to, Barrett Jackson's going on this weekend. We'll do a wrap-up of that next weekend. But I just wanted to cover one very specific car that we saw at the weekend. I think this is kind of timely, and I want to get a video out real soon about this. It's been all over Facebook. It's been on Moparts. A lot of people have been talking about this thing. So there was a 1969 Plymouth GTX convertible showed up at Barrett Jackson, and my brother's down there, and shout out to my brother Gary. He got me some video of this car down there, and some pictures of it. But it showed up down there, and it does not have a VIN anymore, and the fender tag went away too. So I'm gonna get a little bit more into that. I don't want everybody to say in the comments oh, Barrett Jackson took the VIN. Well, that's not how it works. I'll go a little bit into how that works. So I reached out to a couple people that I knew down there, and unfortunately I haven't gotten much information back. I actually reached out to the Arizona Department of Safety, the Arizona Highway Patrol, what they call them down there, and I have not heard back from them yet on what happened to this. But they're the ones who actually do this. So if they find any fraud or fake VINs, they're the ones that actually cut the VIN tags off. It's not Barrett Jackson that does this. I want to make that real clear. I did a video about something similar last year, and that's kind of what everybody assumed. That's not actually what happens. It's a team that looks at these things. Barrett Jackson does their best to verify these cars to make sure that you're buying something real down there. And they're in teams with the sheriff, with the police down there, and they're the ones who actually do this. So but I've done a bunch of research on this car. I've talked to a bunch of people about this. I want to do a deep dive into this car here, and I'll kind of tell you what we know about it. So the earliest history we could track on this car. So I have my own personal registry that I keep. I try to keep track of cars. I write VINs down. I do it with a buddy of mine, Dan Pausch down in Vegas. And I have a handwritten note of this car, which means it was probably 25 years ago when that was written down. That was first on my registry. The first time I saw it pop up was, as far back as I could find online, was RM Auctions actually sold this car in 2009, and it got $33,550, which is a very specific amount. That must have been with keep in mind with the auctions here, they always add, I always call it the juice. So, if it sold for 30 and there was a 10% buyer's premium, they're going to advertise that they sold it for 33. It pumps up their numbers, it makes them look more impressive, and it makes the cars look more expensive. That's just always what they do with these auctions. That's just what they do. So, and then apparently it was at a dealership called Fast Lane Cars for a little while. I think this thing's been passed around a bit. And then it showed up on Bring a Trailer on October 24th, 2024. It sold. Apparently, according to the comments I was reading on there, the guy who got it from some friend of his. He had to loan him some money or something, so he took the car as collateral, I believe, and he just wanted to get rid of it. So it was actually for sale at the Mopar show down in LA. That's where the car was. I think I remember seeing it there, but I don't remember seeing a price. But it sold for on Bring a Trailer $45,750, and it was interesting because there's actually a lot on Bring a Trailer's not the best place in the world to sell a Mopar. They don't generally get super good money on there. They just don't. It's not the best place to sell Mopar, but there's definitely a couple guys in there that comment on every Mopar auction, and it was kind of interesting that they didn't spot some of the stuff that I did, but we'll get to that in a little bit. And then apparently a dealer called High Octane Classics bought it after that. I believe they're out of Florida. And again, I don't have 100% information on this, but it makes sense. I mean, the car was sold in October, 3 months ago, and it showed up on the dealer website, and they were asking $95,000 for it. So, yeah, that's, they're trying to double their money on the car. Didn't quite work out for them, but yeah, we'll get back to that. So I'm assuming they're the ones that signed it at Barrett. I mean, as they could have sold it to somebody else and they could have brought it to Barrett, but I just don't see that as very likely. Most of these dealers, if they bring it to Barrett, the nice part about Barrett Jackson is there's no reserve. So you ship the car there, it's going to sell no matter what no matter what you want, it's going to sell one way or another. It's no reserve. That's the biggest difference between Barrett and Mecum. You know, Mecum, you can do a reserve. On Barrett, it's no reserve. And it sold at Barrett Jackson this weekend. Again, we'll get back to that in a minute. All right, we wanted to show you a little video that my brother took down at Barrett Jackson this year. And again, I thank him for doing that. It was really nice of him to get some video of this thing. He's the one who initially found this too. I probably would have heard about this otherwise, but he told me about it first, which is really interesting. So you can see the area down there where the fender tag was, and you can see on the area on the dash where the VIN tag was. They're both obviously gone right now. There's some interesting stuff on the car. One thing is the body number right there. It's kind of hard to see in this video, but it's supposed to be G9104, and it says G9304. So there's actually a bit of a misstamp there, which is kind of interesting if you think about it. There's definitely some weird minutia on this car. If you notice on the fender right there, it actually has a 69 style fender turn signal. And you might ask yourself, well, shouldn't it have a 69? Well, one of the interesting things on these early cars is when they put those on, you have the bulge on the hood on a Roadrunner and a GTX. You can't see those. It's so low against the fender there, you can't even see it. So in 68, they used what was called a bullet type fender turn signal, that it was kind of shaped like a bullet and was kind of up about an inch off the fender, and you can actually see those. So a real early running change on these cars was that they put the 68 turn signals on, and it's kind of interesting. This is a real early car. It's a 809 scheduled production date, which is August 9th, 1968. And keep in mind that the 1968 model year, or 1969 model year, was August 1st, 1968, approximately, to about the middle of July, 1969. So just because it was built in 1968 doesn't mean that it wasn't, obviously, 1969 model. 1969 models were they started in 1968. So just a few other interesting things on this. You notice it's missing the wheel-up moldings. Obviously, it's supposed to have those on there. They're kind of hard to find because the GTX has that kind of black extra stripe on the bottom there, the blackout with the trim, and the wheel-up molding needs to hit that. And then this car is also supposed to have a white side stripes, which this does not have. Another interesting thing to look at this car is, there's a lot of little things wrong with it. This is kind of stuff that we noticed when we're looking at a car. So see where the door lock is on there? See how it's inside the door a little bit there, about a foot? That was a thing they did in 1969 to make them harder to steal. So if you look on the other side of the car here, and it is further towards the end. So you could just kind of separate the hardtop windows there and pull up that door lock and steal the car very easily. So just kind of one of those little things where it's like, okay, they got the wrong door on there, the little things add up. What else is wrong when you look at that? Okay, I want to get into just some kind of minutia on the car, just some interesting stuff I found. It had a real fender tag, or at least it did have a real fender tag. It said it was not there when my brother looked at it at Barrett Jackson. And again, I don't have any insider information on what happened to that, but it was not on there at Barrett Jackson. It was on the Bring a Trailer auction 3 months ago. So take from that what you will. It was a real fender tag. It looked legit. There was no problems there. It said it was numbers matching, although I never saw VIN numbers, and they claimed that on the documentation at Barrett, at Bring a Trailer, but I never actually saw any pictures. I might have missed that, but I never actually saw any VIN pictures of whether it was numbers matching or not. The car definitely had some issues. In the Bring a Trailer auction, it was missing a window, which apparently was in the trunk they didn't put on it. I believe the dealer fixed that because it was back on at Barrett Jackson. Again, I'm getting some of these notes in the Bring a Trailer auction because obviously I have a better description on that and comments than what it was at Barrett this year. It was missing the antenna, just wasn't on it. I don't know if that was with the car or not, just a little thing. The exhaust tips weren't lined up real well. They stuck out behind the bumper. The door cards or door panels, I don't know why I say door cards. I've been watching too much Top Gear or something. All these British terms, door cards. But they're supposed to have a GTX emblem on it. It was missing. The wipers weren't parked in the Bring a Trailer auction. That's just kind of a classic sign to me. Anybody who runs wipers, they should go on a moped, they go up, down, and when you hit them off, they should go up and then park down. Just tells me the wipers weren't working correctly, which, is a real common thing on these Mopars. But it just tells me, it's just attention to detail type stuff for me. It had a really dumb stereo in it. Like there's a picture of the trunk where they have this subwoofer that takes up half the trunk, and they have these speakers in the kick panels up front. I don't know. I'm not a big fan of big stereos. I don't know, if you're driving an old classic Mopar convertible, like why do you need a bumping stereo? I don't know. I got twin exhaust out the back that I can listen to the motor go. That's good enough for me. Yeah, it was just, so there was, I mean, and you know, look up and down the car. It's a nice driver. It's not like a really high-end restoration. Okay, and again, I just want to reiterate, we don't know exactly what happened to this. So all of this is conjecture, and I don't want to say this is a, you know, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not saying like this is definitely what happened, but you can kind of follow the breadcrumbs when you look at this stuff. And the first thing was, you know, I learned about this a couple days ago, and I've been trying to, you know, when I was putting this video together, you know, we do as much research as we can because I want to make sure I'm right on this. And I hadn't seen the VIN because it wasn't at Barrett Jackson. So I looked at that Bring a Trailer video. I was going through the pictures and the comments and everything to see if there's anything I missed on there. And yeah, there was a big one right here. So if you look at the VIN tag right here, you'll notice that it is offset quite a bit to the left. So a Mopar, the VIN on the VIN on a Mopar, the tag on the dash, should be centered around the rivet. So here's an example of a car I have in my shop, a 70 Superbird we're working on right now, and you can see how it's centered between the rivets on the VIN tag. And on the GTX, it's way off to the left. So that's obviously a problem. I mean, there could have been a factory mistake. There could have been a lot of reasons for that, but you know, that's definitely a red flag on the car that maybe the VIN wasn't real on this. Again, I don't know for sure, but it's definitely something that makes you go, you know. Another thing we noticed on the car too is on the core support. So on a Chrysler, so they have the VIN tag, and then they have two body numbers. So they have one underneath on the trunk rail on the back, underneath the weather strip that's hidden in back. You generally can't check that one. It's under glued weather strip, and if it's not my car, I'm never going to look on there. But the other one is on the core support up front, between the radiator and the core support. And if you look on this one, it says 9G, which is, it's always the last six of the VIN on the body numbers on a 69. It usually goes plant year and then the last six of the VIN. So this one is 301, or sorry, 304, if you notice right here. The VIN's 104. Now, normally, I've seen mistaken stamps a lot. It's not uncommon to have numbers transversed or one mistake here, and everything looked okay to me there. So I'm not going to say either way. I've seen a lot of factory mistakes, but with the VIN tag, it's just something to look at a little closer. And again, we couldn't check the trunk number, so I can't tell you 100% if that was right or not. And again, I'm not going to get into that in this video. That's not what we're doing here. So, so one interesting thing Barrett does, so when this does happen at Barrett Jackson, they have to change the description. So every car has a little sticker on the windshield with a description of the car, lot number, all that. But what's interesting is when something like this happens, there's always a kind of cryptic message at the bottom. So what it said on this one is titled as 1969 Plymouth Spec Con, sold on bonded title, and title in transit. So, and again, I don't know for sure on this car exactly what happened, but what I've seen in the past, when this happened in the past, is when the VIN tag gets cut off, they put a signed VIN on the car. So we'll have an Arizona State assigned VIN. So, and that will be the new VIN for the car. And it will generally be a randomly generated number. Funny thing is, actually up in Washington and other states, they would actually reuse the original VIN when they did that, but they found that was an issue because people were getting, you know, VIN tags made basically. And, you know, having a car with a destroyed VIN and putting the real VIN tag on it, I know of a couple of cars that happen to around here. So they generally have an assigned number. So, and the spec con means special construction. So it means it's, you know, again, it's assigned VIN. You can't say for sure it's a GTX. You can't say for sure whatever it is. But yeah, but that's the way they always do it. So if you ever see that on a tag at a Barrett Jackson auction, that's what that means. It means it has an assigned VIN, most likely. And what really surprises me here is, so it went up for auction on Friday, and it still got $55,000, which, I don't know. Me personally, I don't touch cars like that. I mean, generally for me, I mean, admittedly, I am a bit of a snob. I don't like buying cars without fender tags for the most part. I'll buy cars without numbers matching, but it depends what I'm trying to do. You know, if I'm trying to build a race car or something, or if it's a really good deal, I'll buy it. But if a car doesn't have a fender tag or some sort of documentation issues, I generally just stay away. It's not for me. That's just not the way. When I buy and sell stuff, that's just not the way I go. So with a car with no VIN tag, with the fender tag gone, I think 55 grand's way too much money for this. What's funny is there was a lot of conversations back in October in Bring a Trailer on the Moparts online message board for Mopar people. There was actually a big thread on that about how cheap that car was at 45, and it does seem cheap for a 69 GTX Convertible is a pretty rare car. This one's an automatic. It's not a 4-speed, but, you know, obviously it had a few issues, but 45 seemed a pretty good deal for it. I mean, and that dealer was trying to get 95,000 for it. So, I mean, they thought it was a really good deal. You know, they're trying to double their money on it. And, well, yeah. I mean, they still sold for 55,000. So they got to pay, I believe it's 10% to Barrett Jackson. So if it sold for 55, they're going to bring home 50. They paid 45 for it. I'm sure they have transportation costs to wherever it went to their dealer, back to Barrett Jackson, all that. So, I mean, if I was that dealer, I would be jumping for joy right now that I broke even on that car, because when it goes through without with the issues that car had, 55 is a lot of money for that car. So, again, this is my personal opinion. This is what I think. I think that dealer is probably jumping for joy right now. Okay, so just want to do a little wrap up of the video here. So, yeah. So what I don't want this video to be, and unfortunately, what happens in the comment section of these videos, a lot of times everyone goes in, starts bashing the big auction houses. You know, it's like, oh, they're just crooks. They're trying to steal from you. Like, that's not the lesson I want to take from this video. What I'm trying to do here is tell you that, you know, if you are buying a car at Barrett Jackson, they do some due diligence. They have a team down there who checks out these cars and makes sure that the body numbers are there, make sure that the VIN matches, and make sure that the descriptions on the cars match what they are. I mean, they can't do like a deep dive onto every car, but they do the basic stuff to do this. So if a car down there, you know, if you bring a car to Barrett Jackson, this is not saying they're going to cut your VIN off when you get there. You should not be scared of that. If you have a car that's not a fake, that's a real car, you don't have to worry about that. Fake VIN tags, some of that kind of stuff. That's the stuff that they're looking for down there. And keep in mind, and Barrett Jackson is not the one doing this. It's the state of Arizona who's doing this. I did reach out to somebody at Barrett Jackson, and they said to contact the state of Arizona, and I did, and I've not heard back from them on that. And if I do, I will definitely update this. I doubt they're going to tell me what happened here. This is kind of a private matter. I doubt they're going to tell me anything like that, but I just wanted to say that I did reach out to them, and I've not heard back. And if I do, I will definitely update this video. I hope everybody gets a good lesson from this, that, you know, you need to be careful out there. There's cars that have issues out there, and, you know, I don't specifically know what happened with this car. And I want to be careful what I say on this, but yeah, I mean, I just, you know, I had a lot of people asking about this. I saw it on message boards. I just want to do a quick video on this just to tell people what I saw, what I think happened, and, you know, share this news with you just so, you know, there isn't like rumors running around the internet or stuff. So, all right, well, this is Tom from Rocker Restorations, and I appreciate everybody for watching.